What's going on, guys? Zebs here, also known as Hayden, bringing you another tutorial. And this tutorial will be targeted for the beginners of Cinema 4D, generally like people who have just opened the software for the first time or attempted to do something in the software but it didn't work for them because they didn't have enough experience in this software. So if you're a beginner, or not a beginner, an expert Cinema 4D user, like you've used this for a long time, you know where everything is, this video may not be for you because it might just be a grind to get through it because you probably already know everything. So I guess let's get started. So generally if you're intermediate or above, you might not want to watch this, but if you're a beginner, this is perfect for you. So yeah, so let's get started. Generally this is Cinema 4D. I'm just gonna go over the general layout of it, what everything does, and things like that. So let's start with the right. So in this gray bar right here, this is where your layers are. Well, not layers, but your items are that you've made. So say you have some text here, the text thing will be on the right here. I'll show you an example. So let's say I want to have some text, it's gonna go on the right here. And yeah, so generally all your stuff that you work on will be on the right here. So yeah, down here in the bottom right is our kind of your like editing box. Like when I get text, you get a bunch of settings in here that you can use to edit it. Generally most people will use this one, the object box and the caps box. I'll go over that later, what they are, but generally the bottom right is your settings that you can use to edit stuff with. In this middle here, we have this gray box here, which is your material box. Cinema 4D uses materials to make or texturize objects. So let's say I want to make a material. You could go create new material, or you could double click down here and it will make a simple white material. You can have as many materials as you want, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if there's an unlimited amount you can have, but if you have a lot, it'll just be a scroll down here. So next is this kind of timeline here. This is for animations, motion tracking, objects like that, because Cinema 4D is modeling software. I believe it's focused on that, but it does have the capabilities to animate things, render animations, and motion tracking. I don't know other, yeah, it's just stuff like that in general. So that's what this timeline is. These right here, these red like buttons here, are your keyframing thing, your keyframes for animating. Obviously this is your play, your skip, frames, go to next frame, and this one's the next key. You already know them. Here is where you can set how many frames you want. So let's say I want 200 frames, and then I would just do this, and I have 200 frames on the timeline. Then what you could do, what this bar is here is your kind of like your live rotation tool. So if you wanted to get exact coordinates on something, you could use this to get a perfect angle in the live selection tool. So that's generally what this bottom part is. So materials, yeah. So on the left here is your modeling tools generally. This is kind of like your select all, your model. Whenever you click things, it will have a orange outline to it. So like what you see here, so you know what you're clicking. I don't have much experience with this one or this one, but this one is kind of like your corners. So you got corners you can mess with to model things. And then this one is a full corner, again for modeling. So there's that. Then there's this one, which is each face. So if I was to do this, I could. This one's pretty good for modeling, a lot of people use it. This is for your axis. Generally, if your axis isn't centered, say it's like somewhere like down here, like this, and you want to center it, what you do is you click this tool here, and this will allow you to move your axes without it moving that object. So you can center it if you would like. So I'm just going to recenter this generally to there. Oh, it's not perfect, but it'll work. So yeah. Now let me go over this one, these tools here, which are pretty important. This is your kind of, here, let me get an object so it'll be easier to see. So if I get a sphere, generally, let's say I wanted to move it around, so I click this and I could go left, right, up, down, while still facing that way. This is forward and backward. This tool is your rotation tool. You can rotate around things. This is three-dimensional software, so keep that in mind. This one is kind of your angles. If you don't know which one is, it says right here. So top, front, right, and perspective. So if you want a shortcut, besides clicking this, all you like hotkey people, if you click F2, it'll bring you to the top. F3 is the right, F4 is the front, and then F5 is all four of them on the single screen. So you can edit each one however you like. They each have these settings here. So, and yeah. So let's say you want to go full screen on one of these, you just click this and it'll take you to the full screen of the front. But generally it's F1 through F4, which are the four settings, and then F5 is all of them. So there's that. This top bar here is generally your tools. Undo, redo, you should know what those are. The live selection. You got your rectangle selection, lasso selection, polygon selection. Generally you want to keep it on live selection, which generally, why am I saying generally? Hold on. But it basically makes it where whenever you can click things and it will make it a live selection. So you can move it, things like that. This is kind of your moving tool, stuff like that. This is your resizing tool. Now, the axes, instead of arrows, it turned into squares. So that's how you know if you have your resizing on. Whoops. And for a shortcut, you can push T, and that'll bring you that tool. And this blue axis, you can push it, you can make it smaller or bigger. This one, you can make it thicker or thinner. And this one is your same thing, basically, as the blue, kind of. And if you don't want to click these axes, you could just click and then just drag your mouse to the left, and it'll do that same. Right makes it bigger. And there's these little orange dots, kind of. And what this does is it allows you to make these shapes bigger, smaller, without keeping its aspect ratio. So yeah, there's that. This is your rotation tool. So let me just get another cube, and let's say I want to rotate it. You can get this tool, and instead of just axes, it turns into a full sphere with these axes. And generally green, you can move it to the side. A good thing about cinema is it tells you the degrees you're moving, and if you look at the bottom right, like right here, it'll tell you what degree it's at. So that's for the people who want exact degrees. So if I was to say 90, it'll go to a 90-degree angle. The blue is rotating it vertically. It's the same as the thing, so if I was to edit that, I'll set it to 90 and it will be perfect. Green, going over that, middle, green's that way, blue's that way. And let's say you want to make a unique angle. You don't have to click these to rotate it. If you just click inside the sphere, click, and then you can move your mouse around to rotate it. If you look at the bottom right where the rotations are, it's kind of messing with all of them because there's no, like, it's not restricting you. You could just freely rotate it however you like. So there's your rotation tool. Here's kind of like your recent tools that you've used. This is kind of like not highlighting. It's kind of weird. I haven't really messed with these that much. Same with this. I guess it's kind of flipping them. Yeah, I guess it's flipping them over. So if you have your axis upside down or your object is flipped, then you can use that tool to set it back to that. Now, these three are your render settings. This left one lets you pre-render things. So let's say you made something and you wanted to render it out, see what it looked like if you were to fully render it. That would be that. This middle one is your fully, like, you're done with your project, you're ready to render it button, or finish animating it, things like that. And this one would be Control R, this one Shift R, and then here's your render settings. Here you can have a bunch of settings to edit your renders. So let's say you wanted the dimensions to be 1920 by 1080, you could do that. We'll go over this later. So there's a lot more tools you can use. If you click one, it'll add it into the settings. So yeah. Here are this blue like square here. Here are your your objects you can work with. You got a cone, but just a bunch of stuff you can work with to edit them. You can manipulate these, make models with them, just cool things like that for like all you creative people out there. So that's what they do. Here are your kind of like outline type deals. So generally, for an example, let's say I wanted to make this into a shape. I'll use a plugin called Reaper X, and then drag the spline into the Reaper, and then it will make that shape into 3D. So I haven't really worked with this a whole lot. I need to get some more experience with it, but yeah, that's generally what they are. Here are your editing tools. So let's say I add in a AI of some sort, which an AI is a format that Cinema reads to make things three-dimensional. So say I was to add this, and I want it to be three-dimensional instead of two-dimensional and just an outline. What I would do is I'd get 3 extrude NURBs, which are the tool to make paths 3D. So you just drag this into that extrude NURB, all 3. Oops. And then there. Now you have a 3D shape. And now let me just go over a couple of the settings that extrudes might have, or whatever object your thing might have. So this is perfect. It has pretty much most of them. So let's start with the far left. This plus means you're opening something. So that means there's either a path or there's something in this object. The minus is closing it. This is a layer thing, but I don't really mess with that. These circles here are basically rendering tools. So let's say you wanted to hide this, but if you wanted to render it, so you hide it so you can maybe see something else, but when you want to render it, it'll show up. And this bottom one is the complete opposite. It stays on when you want to edit it, but when you render it, it completely removes it. This is your layer, like if you want to have it on or off. So generally, I said generally again, my bad, but it just like turns off the extrude. Photons, or phone tag, I mean, are for curves. So it deletes like sharp objects. I can't really show you an example. Generally, photons are used for low poly things. You want to remove those for low poly, which low poly is a type of art that people do, if you didn't know that. But photons delete like sharp paths. It kind of just makes it like, well, maybe I can show you an example. Let's to do this. Let's just set up a quick little example. Do this. Delete the photons, it kind of makes things pixely, which is the type of art that low poly does. Maybe I can make this to a different example. If I change that with so if I was to do this, delete the photo tag, it will make things, this kind of deletes any curves, which generally this is the low poly style. So yeah. So that's this. This is your more editing tools. You got an atom array, which is an outline. So I got this pyramid here. Let me just zoom into it, and I get an atom array, pyramid. Drop it in, gives you an outline. You can edit it on the far right, like I showed you in the beginning, and then boom, you have yourself an outline. Metal ball, spline, just different types of tools you can use. Boogle is for modeling, or Bool's for modeling, just things like that. Here are your editing tools to edit something. If you wanted to bend something, twist, melt, just things like that. We won't really go over this too much. It's more of an advanced type of tool. Here are for your animations. You can get a floor, you can get sky, just things like that for your animation. So yeah, animating tools. Here are your cameras. These can be used for animating, but can also be used to keep a nice angle that you like. So say I like this angle that it's at, and and I want to move things. So let me show you how to use the camera. So this camera, right now it's not currently on because this blue or black square here is the thing that's having it selected. So the camera's selected right now, and if I uncheck it, it moves. So say I wanted to get out of this view and then edit something, like say rotate it, but I want to go back to that original view, I just click this and it'll take me back to there. Now as you can see, there's these white lines. So if I was to, is that right? Yeah. So if I did that, yeah. So if you were to set this one to red, this top one, it will remove the lines from seeing it. And you just gotta click it, and then boom, you're at that angle again. So that's really useful. Cameras, a lot of these other ones are for motion design. And then your lights. Lighting is kind of cool on this software. It basically, I'll show you. It allows things like this for lighting, for nice lighting. Like I said, this is modeling software, so people are going to be doing realistic things in it, so like realistic models, so you gotta have some good shading. Now this goes back into render settings. Render settings have a big part of the lighting, so you gotta keep that in mind. But that's generally lights, basic stuff. We're not gonna really go over it that much, just the light. And so that's generally the gist of Cinema 4D. Got some bars up here for more editing, MoGraph, got some stuff like that, character, plugins, script, simulate, you can simulate things. Up here are more tools you can use, objects, tags, bookmarks, tag, or video, yeah, just things like that. So that's generally the layout of Cinema 4D. So yeah, I can't really go much into more detail about it. I just showed you the basics layout of Cinema 4D, what some tools do to bring you on your way to being the best designer in the world. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial, guys. Again, this is more for more beginner designers, so keep that in mind. If you enjoyed the tutorial, please leave a like and comment. We really appreciate it. It really helps us out a lot. And yeah, so next week, leave a comment down below on what a tutorial you would like me to make. It could be any type of design in the 3D form. So it could be in Cinema 4D, it could be in Photoshop, just things like that. So leave a comment down below on what you would like me to make next week. And I have been your host today. I'm Zebs, and I'm out. Peace.